Welcome to the Rondo. We're back. Another week of PL football. A real good one for me, I'm not going to lie. And a good one for my guests.
A great one.
As well.
A great one.
Very good one.
So yeah, man, it's your boy AA hosting. I'm actually the only one from the regular cast. And we've got two great guests in today. Two
upgraded.
TikTok stars. I like that indeed. Seb, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on.
No
Seb,
problem.
Spurs fan, obviously. And yeah.
Nicely. Where can they find you on TikTok and
TikTok,
where else?
yeah, Seb on football, YouTube as well, same thing. But yeah.
Nice one. And Ben,
Thanks for having me on, bro.
is it introduction?
Yeah, Ben Bowman, Spurs fan as well. YouTube, TikTok, same as Seb, taking over Spurs TikTok.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. Two Spurs fans, man. Wow. I'm sure many of our regular cast will be thrilled.
I wish there was an Arsenal fan here today.
If you're an Arsenal fan watching, you're going to enjoy this podcast.
Yeah, stay
I promise
tuned.
you.
Very much so. But yeah, let's kind of get into it. So on the agenda today, we're going to start off talking about Chelsea versus United, a little bit of a snooze fest.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, not a lot of quality in that game, but we will dissect it for a bit. And obviously, we've got two Spurs fans in the house. A real emphatic win today against Villa, a real statement
Very good.
in the top four race as they win 4-1. So we'll be talking about the key points on that as well. We've got a couple of Rondo questions on that as well. So we'll get into that, a couple of big boy questions. Then we'll do a match roundup. Obviously, some big games in the title race this week. A very good week for me indeed as a Liverpool fan. And Forest looking strong as well. And then we've got a bonus topic on Amorim coming into United. And we were doing a little match preview as well. So lots of stuff, man. It's a 90-minute episode this week.
Lock in.
So yeah,
That's short for me and you, to be fair.
Yeah. It might be longer. We waffle so much.
Oh, right,
So
you guys, I've seen you guys on the lives. You guys can go on for a while.
We'll start at like 10:30. It'll be like 1:30 in the morning.
it's all about endurance.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it, man. Love it. But yeah, without further ado, let's kind of go into the Chelsea and United game. So, or I should say United and Chelsea, since United were at home. Finished 1-1. As I said, firstly, yeah, not the most exciting game, not a lot of quality. Seb, I see you shaking your head there. What's your thoughts on that?
It was quite an open game, to be fair. I thought the quality in terms of when they got into the final third, Garnacho, I thought at times, like when United were getting into the final third, so many sort of misplaced passes, wasted opportunities to actually create some decent chances and make it a decent match. But yeah, quite scrappy at points as well. I thought lots of fouls in the midfield. But yeah, I think obviously me and Ben were in the pub enjoying the Spurs win afterwards, so we were still thinking about that when we were watching it. But yeah, I thought, obviously we're going to get onto it later, but Caicedo was the outstanding player on the pitch, I thought, and yeah, it was a battle of the midfields as well. But yeah, I thought it was interesting how United set up as well. Yeah. Casemiro and Ugarte in there. I just thought Ugarte did all right. I thought Casemiro did all right.
I think Ugarte looked all right. And I genuinely thought he was rubbish. As in, I thought they've kind of put 50 million down the drain again.
Yeah, another one.
I was just looking at it looked like he was sort of like running in quicksand at times. I remember in the Spurs game, I think that was specifically the game I said, I was like, my word. But it kind of shows a new manager, it looks like, when he's not covering as much space, because Ten Hag's kind of system leaves a lot of space.
Gaps in the midfield.
He's all right. He can actually do quite a lot of defensive work. And to be fair, they looked all right. And because Caicedo and Lavia, they're not an easy midfield to come up against.
Quality. I really rate that defensive midfield, Joe.
Yeah, it feels like they've got that partnership right now. So obviously Lavia's struggled a lot with injuries. Again, like with Caicedo last season, I feel like we were seeing signs of it anyway, especially towards the second half of the season.
A lot of people didn't notice it.
But there was kind of this perception around Chelsea of like, because they'd spent so much money, it was like, because he was the big signing, £100 million, it was like he was the one that was deemed as the biggest flop. Yeah. But for that sort of position, you saw the quality of it today. It's like you have to spend big to get that sort of quality.
He's got the lot as well.
Yeah.
Like passing range as well. Like he can play through the lines, breaking up play, so good at everything.
And a goal as well. Was
brilliant
goal.
Yeah. We'll get to him, but let's kind of start off with the first goal. So United scored first.
Yeah.
Penalty for them. Højlund goes through. I think it was a Bruno ball.
Yeah.
He's going away from goal. He's not really got a lot. Sanchez. He's all over the shot.
It was a dodgy one. Because when I first saw it, I thought blatant pen. Sanchez dived at his feet, but then when you saw it in the replay, there wasn't much contact, but it was enough for a pen, definitely. And Sanchez.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, why does he go for it? Just do the classic one, like kind of just move your arms out of the way, take your arms away, just kind of put your just usher him up.
He
proper flies it. I think he tries to get his arms out of the way, but
that's the thing. He kind of got. There was the Liverpool game. Was it last week? The Liverpool game, Liverpool Chelsea at Anfield, where the second. The penalty that got overturned with Curtis Jones, At first, again, that looks really clumsy when it comes out, and it's like obviously it gets overturned. It wasn't a foul, but he just rushes out far too quickly, and then he's hesitant for the second. He did, yeah. And nothing ever looks certain. And again, it was kind of the same with the Curtis Jones goal at Anfield as well, where he kind of comes out and he's hesitant from the first one, and you kind of just see that in his game every time they play. Though I think it was a few weeks ago where they played Forest, where he made a few really good saves in that game, and I think some Chelsea fans were sort of starting to turn. It was like, actually, maybe he isn't quite as bad as we thought, or he isn't as clumsy, because he was making brilliant saves, but you don't trust him when a striker's running at him like that. He just looks very clumsy, trying to make himself big.
I don't trust him in any way.
No.
I don't trust him in any way. Like,
when will Chelsea finally sign a goalkeeper that they just can settle on?
Well, they've got about 8 on the books, but they're all like 20 years old.
20 years old, yeah. So Seb, you said you just don't trust him at all. So can Chelsea succeed with Sanchez? Do they need to upgrade on that position? That's the question I've got for you.
Yeah, I think in terms of an upgrade, it's going to be interesting because, like you say, they've got talented keepers coming through. It's like, will they be ready by next season or will it be the season afterwards? But I think right now, Sanchez will cost them points this season because I think Chelsea's defence Chelsea's defence is quite vulnerable anyway. I think that is definitely the weakest area of their team right now. I think Reece James is coming back into it. Obviously, he's hopefully going to play his way in some fitness this season, and if he can stay fit for a full season, that obviously greatly improves their defence. I think captain as well, but sort of having that shaky back four and then having him behind them. I just sort of Chelsea are going to concede goals this season, and however good they are going forwards, like you saw today with the penalty, for example, I thought even though it was quite an end-to-end sort of scrappy kind of game, that moment of ill discipline cost them in that game, and I think Sanchez will do that at points this season, 100%.
Yeah.
See, there's no area of the game really that I look at him and I go, he's really good at that. I don't think he's a great shot stopper. I don't think he's dominant in his box. I don't think he's brilliant distribution-wise. So
was it the Brighton game he got caught out, playing out from the back?
Yeah. He's a towards the end of the league type of keeper, if we're being honest. Like, he's in and around kind of...
He's not a Champions League goalkeeper.
No, not at all. I think he's quite a way off it. I'm not even sure if he's like mid-table.
Yeah.
I actually think
the thing is, Brighton fans didn't even like him that much.
They weren't that upset when he left.
They weren't upset at all when he left.
He left and they were like, we got some money for him. Like,
I don't know. I definitely think they need to upgrade in that position. I don't know why they have a bunch of kids that they're trying to form. Like, I think with the keeper, you just go and buy a good keeper.
Yeah.
You know, like, a hot young prospect and he's a keeper. Yeah. I'm not really sure about that. No. I think they've done that well in other positions, but I think
it's a lot of pressure for a young keeper. It's Chelsea,
especially as well with their defence, the amount of injury-prone players they've kind of got.
I was just checking that it was going along there.
It looks like it is,
yeah. Cool. All right, cool. No problems. Okay, moving on to Caicedo.
Yeah.
So he obviously got the equaliser, a stunning goal from him.
I didn't know he had that in his locker.
I didn't know he had
it
in his locker either. I did not know he had it either. Wow. I guess my question from him is like, just how good is he? Because I thought he was the man of the match, kind of even outside of that.
Yeah.
You know, the way that he just like mops it up in terms of winning the ball back. He's quite good on the ball as well. Like, I thought the 150 million was crazy, and I still think it is quite pricey. But when you look at, there's not a lot of DMs who are that good in terms of winning the ball back and also can receive it under pressure and distribute. You look at Declan Rice, who was £100 million man as well. And yes, they're very similar in terms of the way that they win the ball back, but on the ball, I think he's a level above, and I think he is. I wouldn't call him better than Declan Rice at the moment. Maybe this is a big statement. Arsenal fans won't like this, but I think Caicedo's a bigger talent, and I think he can kick on and be an even better player because when you're looking at him as a DM, what more can you ask for?
Yeah. Who would you rather have playing in tight spaces, Rice or Caicedo? It's like receiving the ball under pressure, just popping it off. Again, it's just there was so much kind of skepticism around Caicedo when he came in last year because of the fact that there was such a big price tag. But again, I'm not saying Caicedo is at that level, but if Rodri was to move on from Manchester City or someone of that kind of quality, you'd be demanding now, with the way that position has become the most important on the pitch, certainly in the Premier League, you're looking at probably even more than that now. And it's like, that's going to be... I can't remember exactly how old Caicedo is, but if Caicedo and Lavia is your... 25, so he's got so much time left.
If that's younger than 25, you know.
Younger.
Is he?
Yeah, I think he's
well, if that's your pivot for the next 4 or 5 years, that's quite scary, isn't it? And he's the sort of player that could kind of adapt to any sort of style as well. 23.
Really?
Yeah, he's 23.
Well, he doesn't play that. Well,
just turned 23 as well.
Well, that's kind of even more of a compliment to him, though, isn't it? Because he doesn't play like it.
No, he doesn't.
And also, for someone who's that composed under pressure, for someone as young as Lavia as well to kind of come into that and know that I've got your back, I'm going to sweep things up, I'm going to pop it off quickly. He's been incredible for them, and I just don't feel like he's getting that credit. I feel like Chelsea fans have been kind of banging this drum since last season because
they have been. To be fair to them.
Look,
he's starting to get it now, isn't he?
Yeah, and it's like I I don't like Chelsea. We're Spurs fans. But there was this kind of lazy, I think, narrative a little bit with Chelsea last season because of the fact that they had spent so much money that they weren't really getting the recognition when things were starting to click. And Caicedo, I think a lot of Chelsea fans will probably tell you Caicedo was probably, all right, maybe not at this level, but second half of last season, he was one of their best and most important players as well. Yeah, so this has been coming, and it's like I feel like he's just kind of. It's crazy to say that he's about to explode because again, you expect that for £150 million, but it's like he can't help that. He doesn't control the price tag. He's just doing his job, and I think he's doing it really, really well. And man of the match. Deservedly so
That's
today.
what's impressed me this season as well. Like you said, his all-round game. Like, I knew, obviously, at Brighton, like tackles, interception numbers, covers ground, but how good he's on the ball.
Yeah.
It's so
It's
impressive.
I think as well, where he had like McAllister next to him at Brighton as well for a lot of it.
Didn't
like
need to do that as much.
He would just break up play, then give it to McAllister, and then they break play from there. And Gross as well, like two technical players alongside him in midfield.
Yeah, 100%.
But he's kind of shown that Chelsea can do it all.
Yeah, no, it really has been done. And that's the thing, like I knew at Brighton, like he definitely had that press resistance, which I thought was really like a top skill for a player of his profile. But like, what I'm surprised to see, like you said, is like he actually breaks lines as well.
Yeah.
Like the ball that he put in against Liverpool through to Jackson, I was like, fucking hell, all right.
Yeah.
Like he just a little bit of everything, really. Like
He's assisted Jackson a couple of times this season, the one against West Ham as well. Like
Yeah.
he's doing it consistently now. It's not like a one-off thing. Like every time I watch Caicedo now, I'm really, really impressed by him, and he's sort of standing out as a DM. That's why Rodri's so brilliant, because people who say, "Oh, Rodri's a boring footballer," he's not. If you watch City, he stands out playing at DM because he's got so much to his game.
Yeah.
And that is what is demanded of that sort of player in that position now, and he has that. Like he's got the lot as well.
And obviously we'll come on to City later, but look how poor they look in defensive transition without him.
Yeah, they're
so it just shows you take one player out like that and you replace him with someone like Kovacic, who is obviously a brilliant footballer, a brilliant technical footballer. Their midfield's got absolutely no legs. And I know Rodri's not all legs. He's got so much more to him than that. He's not just going to destroy, it's going to break up play, but just shows you how important that position it is. And again, coming back to the price thing, which it was kind of always used to be strikers, didn't it? It was like they would carry the kind of biggest weight in terms of transfer fees because of what they bring to the team. But you can kind of see why it's going that way with these sixes, because
I agree.
Players who have got everything like Caicedo, and maybe we didn't see that at Brighton, but no disrespect to Brighton, but a bigger club where there is more eyes on him, people are starting to see his all-round game now, which is
like
just
Gravenberch as well.
Yeah.
His improvements this season, like the level that's taken that Liverpool midfield to, so impressive as well.
Yeah.
I think these
It
players
is really
now-
key now, isn't it? That sixth position. But final topic on the game, United. Obviously, they're under Ruud van Nistelrooy for I think it's his penultimate game. He's only got them for up
He's got
until
one
the
left, hasn't he?
November international break. Anything really different about them? To me,
Bit more
it's
hunger,
more
I
the
think.
same. A bit more hunger.
Yeah.
You can see that there's a bit more rejuvenation. There's the motivations back, but kind of think.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's more about, like, I suppose the only thing that's different is probably the feeling within the fans, because it was like, I saw like a lot of United fans in the week that were really looking forward to that Leicester game, because it was like, I get to go and watch one of my favourite ever players who played for my club go and manage my team and just have that sense of freedom a little bit back and kind of just like, because it's been so miserable for them for such a long time, it was just probably nice for them to have that back. And you could see the passion on the touchline today. The players were probably a little bit more at it, but there's still a lot of missing pieces that, and again, we're going to talk about Amorim later, but there's still a lot that needs to be fixed and solved there. But they'd probably take that point today, home to Chelsea.
It's the classic interim manager, comes in, bit of passion.
Yeah,
The players,
Van Nistelrooy was
gets on
loving it on the
board.
touchline, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Like,
he
I
was
think he
good,
was about to do a Mourinho, wasn't he? Running up the touchline for the goal, for the penalty.
Yeah, that kind of thing can have a big effect in a short space of time, because
Just a bit galvanised. Like,
I've said it about United for a while. Martinez, like some of them, obviously Mainu in midfield is injured right now, but like Bruno, Rashford, all these players, Højlund as well. Like I rate these players. They're not as bad as people are making them out to be under Ten Hag. And I think the manager is so important these days, and sort of Van Nistelrooy being in there, it's almost like a free hit for United the next 3 games.
Yeah.
And it's like, go out there, play with some confidence. I thought you saw that from a lot of players today. I think you just see them maybe playing with a little bit more freedom, not as much weight on their shoulders. And like Ben said, like when you're enjoying it and the crowd are enjoying it, it makes it so much easier. Because under Ten Hag, it was all about Ten Hag for the past 6 months now.
it probably feels like a bit of a weight has
it
been
starts
lifted.
getting quite toxic, doesn't
Yeah.
it? It's just like
Very
it's
toxic.
unenjoyable. So,
Yeah, and the thing is, with like, I went to when Spurs back United a few weeks ago. I was at Old Trafford for that, and it was like the United fans will get behind the team no matter what adversity they're kind of going through. They've always been quite. Things have got a bit toxic, but they've always been very strong as a fan base of getting behind the manager and the team, regardless of what they're going through. But I think the thing that Van Nistelrooy has probably brought him in these last couple of games, because I think in big games especially, you've kind of seen the lack of big characters in that Man United team. And it actually feels like they've probably got, again, he's going to be gone after one more game, but they actually had a big character on the touchline a bit as well. Something that they could sort of be like, something there they could be proud of. Yeah. Whereas like this season so far has felt like a bit of a waste of time because they should have got rid of Ten Hag after the FA Cup final. There was nothing to really get behind.
Yeah. When I've been trying to make videos about United this season, it all just comes back to Ten Hag.
Yeah,
it's boring. Isn't it?
It does get really boring.
It just gets it literally just gets boring. But we will talk a little bit more about the management change at United in a little bit in our bonus topic. But moving on, and I'm sure this is a topic that you two are very happy to speak on. A real, like I said, an emphatic win today. I didn't see the game going like that, especially after the first half. But Ange must have said, he must have got quite offensive in that half-time talk because you guys came out of the blocks and it was really quite an amazing performance in that second half. But we have to start off with the first half. Yeah. Before I think it's good that we end on a positive. So so let's talk a little bit about the first half. So I think the first thing to speak about is set pieces. Why do Spurs keep on conceding from set pieces? It's getting mad now, isn't it? For a Premier League side going for the top four.
Our record over the last year is really bad. Our record this season isn't quite as bad. I think it's only been 2.
Fair.
But again, it's like it's not just conceding the goals. It is the fact we do look vulnerable, and everybody. It's like conceding a penalty. Like with the feeling within the ground is like when we were 3-1 up at the end, Villa were getting a few corners. It was like, please just put someone in between Vicario and John Duran or whoever's trying to back into him. It was like there is a real kind of feeling of anxiety that builds up whenever we concede a corner, which is not a good place to be. Yeah. But it's a problem. I mean, the goal today, what Villa did really well in that first half was kind of just get under Spurs' skin. They were far more at it generally in the game in terms of like winning the duels across the pitch. Onana was just like
mad in that
it was unbelievable, just covering the ground, cleaning up everything. And when they did get those chances from set pieces, they would just kind of rough us up a little bit. The referee would stop. There'd be some pulling, and then they'd just get a chance to distract us, and then it was like causes chaos in the box, and then we end up conceding that goal. But it's one of those things where we are getting there, but sometimes, do you know what irritates me more is the fact that we don't do to other teams what teams do to us. No. We never do it. We never put someone on the goalkeeper. When
we had corners in the first half, I was screaming at them. I was like, just crowd the keeper.
Yeah,
at least you can cause a bit of chaos there. Yeah, like you said, I echo that point as well. But I think it's about responsibility as well.
Yeah,
it's like people are all so quick to blame Vicario always, and I've seen Vicario get pelters online again today. But
I thought that was like sorry to cut you there, but I thought that was a load of rubbish. I didn't think it was his. I do think Vicario it's definitely an Achilles heel for him. I think on set pieces, I don't think he's the best at all. Even though outside of that, I think he's quite a good keeper. Yeah. But I thought the one today, it's nothing really to do with him. I think Porro judges it wrongly. I think he's actually almost at fault. He should head it at the front post. And once it's flicked on into that danger zone, it's like
it could drop to anyone.
Yeah.
But then the thing that irritated me is like you've got 3 players in front of Vicario. I think it was Bentancur. I can't remember who was on the other side. Johnson and Udogie. Udogie's marking nobody, and it's just like take some responsibility and put yourself in between the keeper and I can't remember who it was that was on it.
I think it was Morgan. I think it was Morgan.
It was Rodgers. The rebound fell to him.
It's weird how we have like a mix of like zonal and then man marking. It used to just be like a mess, our corners. And when we're going back, it's all like all of the Spurs players are looking at the Villa player, like defenders coming into the box, and we're all like, "Oh, what are you doing here, then, lads?" Yeah. And it's like that's the thing to me is like taking a bit of responsibility and like where I've criticised Vicario in the past. It's sort of like if a player is in front of you and roughing you up a bit,
there's
the
not much you can do.
Wants to give a foul. If you push him about, maybe just go down if there's not much contact. Yeah. He doesn't seem to do that. He always seems to like fall over once the ball's gone in the back.
And
then be like,
I think just be quite rough, and then it normally kind of invites the attacker to kind of push you a bit too much, and then you get the foul
because you're never going to give a penalty away for like
never going to pen. Right.
Yeah. If they're pushing you about and you kind of give them a shove back, one you can't give a penalty away because it's not open play anyway. But it's like I don't know. It's just what irritates me more is the fact that we don't do that. We don't do that to anybody, 100%. And I think. With our attacking set pieces a lot of the time, it's almost like we don't see it as an opportunity to score a goal.
Oh, they're awful.
That sounds mad to say.
You don't really feel too threatened when Spurs do
when you look at again, like with Arsenal.
Oh, you're worried. I can't lie.
Yeah, exactly. You look at the back. That's just like marginal gains, isn't it? Like especially if you're that's true to be fair. Yeah, but it's like the marginal gains of like if you're going for a title, for example, and you're trying to chase down Man City and trying to close that point gap. Those are the little things in games that add up to a lot. Whereas I feel like we're not this season. Maybe it'll be top 4 challenge this season, I think. But cool.
Let's move on to the second half because I think you're 1-4-1, so we shouldn't really be doing too much negative, should we? Here, So yeah, second half, you completely blew them away. So I guess before we kind of go into a couple of individual performances on that second half, I think that we have to give some credit to Ange. What
Yeah.
what did you guys have any? Was there anything in the post interview about what he told them at halftime? Because those guys came out like they like they wanted something.
I can imagine he just says the same thing every half time if we're losing. Like, he probably gets into them a bit. I feel like Andrew will be quite calm though.
Yeah.
I don't know, he gives me that vibe of like he'd calm everyone down.
He's very calm on the touchline as well.
Which
Yeah.
he proper believes in his system, and he really believes. You can tell in post-match interviews he believes that they play the same way. Like, I mean, a lot of people would have probably been shouting for changes at half time.
Yeah.
You know, maybe bringing on James
Maddison.
Maddison into the 10, taking Sora for example. But he stuck to his guns and it paid dividends. But yeah, it was a. He probably got stuck into them at half time a little bit, but
Yeah.
I think Andrew's spoken in the past about sort of what he says to the players, and it's all about balance. He says it's like knowing, that's the part of being a good manager, knowing when to get stuck into them and knowing when to sort of be calm. And I think it's good that he's got both of those sides, but I don't know. I expect he probably stay quite calm because I think we were poor in the first half. But I don't think it was one of those where it's like, okay, we're desperately in trouble here.
Yeah.
I think it was an intensity thing.
Yeah,
Like,
I think they were. Yeah, they just wanted it a bit more. I think they were very defensively solid. It's not like they were dominating the ball and like you know.
They kind of treated it a little bit like they've been playing in Europe against maybe like a Bayern Munich or whoever, and they kind of go to like a 6 at the back, and with the like McGinn and I think it was Ramsey playing on the left hand side, they'll really tuck in, and the fullbacks will get narrow. And they're hard to break through. And then when you've got players like Onana that will just cover so much ground. And also, they were a lot fresher than us coming into this game. Like, we obviously beat City in the week. We went quite strong. I think the only player that started for Villa that started today was McGinn. So they were coming into it with a lot more fresh, with a lot more fresh legs. And I think that showed in the first half.
Physical. They have a big team. Villa.
Yeah.
Even that midfield, they just pack it out with like Morgan, Roger. I mean, Tielemans, to be fair, is not as physical, but
He's
Onana.
such a good player though in like those little tight spaces. But I think
Tielemans was quality today.
yeah, he was very
I
good.
thought he was good, yeah, especially in the first half. But like you said, in the second half, you won your duels. I thought you looked really good in the counter.
Yeah.
Scored some excellent goals. So yeah, we got our first big question. So Solanke, he was the man of the match for me. I think he was the Sky man of the match as well. I can't actually remember, but I think he was. He got 2 goals today. The first goal, a quality little chip.
Yeah.
Then he gets a little cutback as well from Richarlison. So obviously, Solanke's a player that he's not scored the most goals. At the start of the season, he's come under a little bit of flack. We've seen guys call him Adam McCullough on the overlap. Called him a 65 million donkey.
He's never
That was
This is personal now.
that was the word for me. Like, just
So weird.
clearly haven't watched him. But I guess the question I've got for you, Ben, is he the striker for Spurs? And I've got to give you the bib here.
Let's have it.
It's a Rondo question. Is
I
he the striker for
do you
Spurs?
want to put it on?
It's quite a tight one, so
I'm just gonna lay it there.
Can lay it there.
Is he the striker for Spurs? 100%. Do you know what? It's a weird one because last season when Ange first came in, we were playing Son through the middle. Richarlison then got a run of games once he'd kind of been back up to full fitness, and he was scoring goals. There was this kind of like perception of what like an Ange number 9 is. It was someone that would kind of just stay between, like basing it off like Kyogo at Celtic, for example, kind of just stay between the width of the posts, and he would thrive off like cutback chances, high XG chances that he'd just be able to finish. Whereas when we bought Solanke, I think one of the main reasons that we brought him in was for his pressing game and his all-round game. He is an absolute monster. And with the and these are the things that people don't see. Like with the Adam McCullough thing, right? What you've done there is just taken £65 million and 2 league goals and just gone like that and formed your opinion off of that. Which, look, if you don't watch Spurs and don't see it, that's fair enough. But then don't butt in and make the comment, because it was a pretty naive thing to say when you don't watch us. But the goals that he scored, I was so pleased for him today because, again, the 2 goals that he scored in the league prior to this, he scored 1 in Europe as well, have all been kind of like easy chances, like rebounds. But again, his movement has got himself into those situations. There've been a lot of other games as well. We've been really good on the break where he's been kind of the deepest player in the build-up, setting things off. It'll go to Brendan Johnson, who has a shot, the keeper saves it, and the rebound just doesn't quite fall to him. Those are the kind of goals that he's going to score in this system because he works so hard, he makes us so brilliant in transition, and he'll just kind of then get on the end of the move if it's a cutback or whatever. But he's the thing that worries me a little bit now is that where he works his nuts off every single game for us. It's like I feel like we're 1 game away from an injury, and then I feel like people will then see how important he is for us once he comes out of the team, because I don't know the exact numbers, but I think we've scored basically as many goals as, I don't know who scored the most goals in the league now. It might be Man City, but we scored 4 again today. We're right up there, and he's only got 4. Got obviously a brace today. he can't be hurting our attack because we've become even more lethal like on transition than we were last season. But he's a top player. Like he's so mobile, so agile. His link up play, and I got a bit of criticism for saying in a video that I feel like we've replaced Harry Kane.
Whoa.
It's a big thing to say, but at the same time, it's like
You think you've replaced Kane?
you can't replace Kane. The thing is, you can't. The thing is, you can't replace Harry Kane because you can't replace
30 goals.
30 goals. You can't replace that kind of
30 league goals.
Well, the thing is, right?
The connection is
Yeah, but the way that he drops deep, the way that he facilitates our ability to be dangerous on the counter attack, the way that he just wins like clever little free kicks as well. He's just like the reason I said I think we've replaced Kane is because we finally bought a big name striker that I don't have to worry about. He just you put him in the team, even if he doesn't score in that game, it's just
He'll do his job.
he'll do his job.
So he's not. So you're saying he's going to be as good as Kane?
I'm not
Or
saying
you're
he's gonna be,
that
you can't be as good as Kane,
Okay.
but I've replaced him in terms of like
You have a 9.
we don't have to. We don't have to worry about that position.
Okay.
So
yeah.
look,
I hear
you,
that.
You
I
can't
hear
replace
that.
Kane's legacy either. That's so important. But the finish for the second goal today, first goal. Our second goal, his first goal was like. He's got that in him. We've seen it at Bournemouth last season where it's like, again, like I said, a lot of the goals that he's going to score for Spurs are kind of like getting on the end of moves, like rebounds, scrappy little goals, strikers, poachers goals that are a reward for his really good hard work. But that finish was just filth. And the best thing about that, and again, Aston Villa, if you want to be a Champions League team, spending the whole game time wasting, the shithousery from them today, the fact that Emi Martinez picked that ball up and put it down to take the free kick, and then they go to the VAR check, it's like, no, it's a goal. And you have to pick the ball up. Stay humble, Emi.
We were both worried at that point.
I
was right behind the goal, Solanke's field. I think your Kane point, in terms of the build-up, like dropping deep, 100% I do see some Harry Kane in him.
Yeah.
I think me and Ben were both saying, just in terms of having a bit more of a presence in the box,
That's what
in and around the box was what we wanted a bit more from Solanke.
But then look at his 2 goals today.
Like, really, it was more just a thing of we'd like to see that a bit more today. You saw it perfectly.
So I think there was a stat coming into this game that he had another shot on target in 6 games. Yeah. Which when you look at that, it's like...
You don't want that from your striker.
Yeah, but then it's like, is that a Solanke problem or is that the fact that we funnel kind of a lot of our chances to our wingers? Like the way we hit teams on the counter-attack and have to turn the ball over. It's like Song getting on the end of it or Johnson getting on the end of it. And it's like, it's not a Solanke problem. Those goals will come. I was really pleased for him today because it's like when you back someone so much, you want him to do it in a big game as well today, like a really important game for Spurs. And he's kind of just shut everybody up a little bit. But I feel exactly the same about Solanke today as I did yesterday. Like nothing's really changed. Like,
No, I 100% hear you guys, and I thought it was very harsh, like the way people were just kind of looking at his goal record, looking at the price tag, like Adam did, in my opinion. And I think if you actually watch him, he adds a lot. And I thought he was adding a lot. And it's just sometimes just give it a bit of time, as you guys said, and you can see like now, he's starting to cook, and it might all come to fruition.
Yeah, his attitude and stuff. I was going to say his attitude and stuff as well. He's like super humble, just like. So hard working. He's just such a selfless sort of player, and that's why
celebration as well.
Yeah,
top notch.
Yeah, I love him.
A little anime celebration.
Cold. I love him. I think to be fair, I will just say that he got man of the match, and this kind of always happens on Sky. When he played really well, don't get me wrong, and I'm not taking it away from him. But Pat Matasar was the man of the match today. He was outrageously good.
Really good.
We spoke about like Onana covering that ground in the first half, but Sarr ate that pitch up. And again, the third goal that Solanke scores, he's the one that breaks up the play, feeds it to Richarlison. Square ball. Richarlison pulls his hamstring and Solanke puts it in the back of the net.
So interesting that you talk about Sarr there, because I just have the bib. Because I've got another question for you, Seb. Another Rondo question coming in. So Sarr going into the midfield, I think. So at the start of the season, we saw that Andrew's playing a holding midfielder, either kind of Bentancur or Basuma, and he was playing 2 10s in Kulusevski and Maddison. And we could all kind of see that it was leaving you a little bit too leaky. There wasn't someone there helping out the 6 to, number one, stop transitions, where Spurs were, kind of conceding quite a lot of goals, but also just be generally quite a bit more defensively solid. Yeah. So Sarr coming in there now, I think we can all agree that he needs to be in there with the 6. He needs to be in the midfield. Yeah. So there's only one position there for an advanced 8 or a 10, if you will, however they shape up, whether it's a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. Guys are saying that it needs to be Kulu over Maddison. Maddison scored a great free kick today. Yeah. But the question for you, who is taking that position? I have to hand you over the bib. I mean, you can wear it now if you take off the... Oh, no, that's touch, but... Oh, yeah. No, okay. Yeah, solid.
Oh, that's what I should have done.
I
just had it in front of me.
Yeah, so you can have it there. So it's a bit less tight.
Yeah, I think on the... I've got this on right. That'll do.
You got it there, yeah.
Like
That would do. You
like a
can
little
stick it
bit.
on through.
Yeah.
If you need it. You can stick it on through there. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and then
How am I looking, boys?
looking solid. So yeah, what's your thoughts on that question? Since there's only one spot there, it seems, for an advanced 8 or 10.
100% Kulu. It is Kulu.
Oh, 100%.
100%. If it's a question.
All right, go on then.
I think the thing that people have got a little bit wrong about it is that it's like we're completely abandoning the 2-10s, or we're just, we have to play this way, we have to play that way. I think what's lovely about our squad right now is the variety that we've got there. We've got Saar who can come into games like this where we do need a bit more of a physical approach in the midfield. We need a bit more cover there. Somebody to help a Bentancur. So I also think the thing I've sort of found with us having this system is the 2-10s might work brilliantly if we had a Rodri, if we had a Declan Rice, somebody who could break up that play and was an excellent number 6. I don't think we've got that. I think Basuma and Bentancur are both decent, but I prefer them both in a double pivot, as I think you saw today. And I think, on my point of the one number 10, if we play with the double pivot in there and one in front of them, it's 100% Kulusevski for me. Me and Ben said it on a podcast. It was one of my hot takes last year that I said Kulusevski had a higher ceiling as a 10 than James Maddison. I just think.
Oh, from last year you said that.
From last year. I just think physically on the ball, what he gives you off the ball as well, so important. I think he's a better ball carrier than James Maddison. I think at times Maddison, and me and Ben were actually discussing this earlier as well, Maddison's taken some undue flack, I think, over the course of the season. I actually think he's been really good at points this season. I think he's been a lot better, especially than he was at the end of last season. I've had some issues with James Maddison regarding his sort of attitude at the end of last year, and when he turns up, when he has that adversity in games and how he sort of shows up in those sort of games. I think he has gone missing at points. But Dejan Kulusevski for me is the superior number 10 for us right now. I think I've said so far this season he's our best player at the moment. I think
he's been comfortably our best player.
He's been unreal. Like one of the better players in the league, definitely.
He's that important to us. But I think it all depends on the game. So if we have Ipswich at home next week, I fully expect James Maddison to come back into the team and to play Maddison next to Kulusevski, because we're going to have a lot of the ball. We're going to dominate. We need those chance creators in there, and there's not as much need for a Pat Matasar in there. I mean, maybe it will be Sar and then those two number 10s, but I think Ange tends to prefer to play either Basuma or Bentancur on their own. I think against the Villa, against the City, against an Arsenal, it will be that double pivot with the one in front of them. I do think that's a lot better. I do think we look a lot more solid as a team. We look a lot less vulnerable in the transition. But I think it's not just a case of James Maddison's dropped, he's out of the picture. He'll probably start in midweek. He'll probably start against Ipswich. I think it's just lovely that we've got that variety in our squad.
Maddison seems to be quite a big character in Spurs. He seems, the way he carries himself. I think he's part of the leadership group as well. Do you think he's going to accept, not being a starter for Spurs? Do you think that could be a problem?
It will be a problem, 100% it will be a problem. I don't think James Maddison's the type of...
He doesn't seem to be.
He doesn't mince his words, really, does he?
Likes to be the main man when he has a roast dinner.
He does.
Let alone when he's playing. That's honestly one of my favourite quotes ever. But
it was so him, wasn't it? As well, just like it's a really hard one because it's like I feel like as a fan base, like internally, we have this kind of discussion after every game where it's what's our best midfield? It happens every single week because like we saw with the West Ham game, which was the last game. I think he started the 2-10s. He started away at Palace as well, which obviously didn't go so well, but that wasn't really necessarily down to that. He took Maddison off at half time and brought Saar on, and it wasn't because Maddison was playing poorly. He created more chances.
Playing well, but it's just balance.
He created more chances in one half of football than any other player did in the Premier League that whole weekend. He was having an influence on the game, but Ange spotted the chance to make it more transitional, draw West Ham in, hit him on the break, and we've become so devastating on the counter attack this season with kind of the profiles that we've got, and Saar's a big part of that. It became quite clearly apparent 5-10 minutes into the game today that Saar and Bentancur was the right call. Because it was like. There were moments where like Rodgers would, especially in a game where they got such brilliant ball carriers like Rodgers and Arna and stuff like that. There was a couple of times where they broke away and you think, not that it's a weakness on James Maddison's part, it's just not really his game. If that's Maddison in midfield, you're not catching up with them. You're not. Saar can just get in there and just like
and
affect the game.
What's really interesting though is that obviously Maddison was signed as this Ange Postecoglou, one of his first signings.
It's kind of the main man. It's literally like the figurehead of that summer, wasn't it?
And Ange really said, he went on record a couple of times and said James Maddison is like, that is my guy right there. That's our number 10. And then this season, Kulusevski barely even played in that sort of role. Last season, Kulu was on the bench, looked to come to the end of the season. And there were times when he brought him into that 10 with James Maddison when we were chasing games. But the fact that it's sort of, whoever comes off is going to be Maddison. If it's a starter, it's going to be Kulusevski. It's interesting how that sort of switched over. I'd actually be interested to hear what Ange has to say on that.
He will get asked about
for making the change. I rate it because he clearly did rate Maddison of that level, but football does change, and you do have to reward performances. And
100%.
I don't really like it when managers are like, they think, oh, I just can't drop this player because I've put so much on him and the fans love him. You got to make those tough decisions sometimes. That's what I feel like they don't do at United a lot of the time. And I think it's a good decision. I agree with you, Seb. I think Maddison's a great player. I do like him. I think sometimes he does get a bit of flack, probably because he gives it this quite a bit. But I think, you know what it is with Maddison, he's a top player, but I think, you know, when it's a bit tough in the game,
100% agree.
I think Kulu's he's got a little bit more of a range to his game to kind of almost kind of turn the tide of the game your way.
100%.
I think sometimes Maddison is like, when it gets a bit tough, he can just let it kind of go by.
The one that really stuck out to me, was actually interesting because we lost the game and we didn't create hardly any chances, was the Arsenal game, the North London derby. I thought in that game, come the end of it, Kulusevski was the only player who I thought could walk away from that game with his head held a little bit high in terms of trying to create something. James Maddison, he faded in that game.
Yeah.
You're completely right.
Does the arms and whatnot.
It's that sort of stuff.
He's got that bit of everyone else.
He bounced back from it quite well because the following week we beat Brentford and Maddison was unbelievable in that game. Just like it was almost like a personal thing of just like, right, I know I need to like. And I think there's been a bit where he has been playing in that left hand side in number 8 role. His off the ball work has had to improve a lot, and there have been so many games where he's been the one that's nipped in and won the ball back. He's been the one that's won those duels and then set us away. I think it's a really hard one with Maddison because where he was at Leicester and he was like, again, the main man behind Vardy, kind of as that.
Fans weren't fan though. Really.
No, they kind of warned Spurs about like this thing of like second half of the season he will sort of like fade away. But
I think he needs to be in a good mood. That's my
100%.
problem with Maddison, and I think that's why he's so good at the start of the season. I think he's got that feeling of
Do you know what, that goal today will do him a world of good though, because it was like didn't start the game but came on and just like ridiculous. But he to kind of what was I going to say?
You just say about Leicester fans, they give a bit of a warning.
Yeah, and also when he was at Leicester, like he was the number 10 behind Vardy. His goals and assists were his like currency. Yeah. Whereas now at Spurs, he's much more involved in the build-up, plays a little bit deeper. He's kind of like the 100-touch man for Spurs when he does play. And it's like, I think he doesn't mind that. He obviously wants to be involved all the time, but he's everything. Look, so much goes through Kulusevski. But if Spurs are playing against a deeper block where Kulusevski can't use his ability to turn teams over on the break with his physicality and not pace, but like his ability to get away from players. Kulusevski thrives more in an open game, whereas Maddison can be the one to kind of pick the lock.
I also think, sorry to interrupt, but Pat Matasar, I think he works better in those sort of left-hand channels, especially when he's going forwards. And I think a lot of the time you'll see him naturally drift over there, and I think that's where James Maddison likes to play. So when you're playing with that number 10, Kulusevski naturally ends up on the right a lot more. Yeah. So I think in terms of balance, if you're looking at Sarr in the midfield and then number 10, I do think it also works a little bit better with Kulusevski in that team.
Also with Kulusevski, like we saw this, I mean, you said it earlier about like the thing that you said on the podcast about the fact that he's got a higher ceiling. There were so many games last season, around like this time last year, where Van der Ven got injured, Maddison got injured, Romero got suspended. That Chelsea game where the kind of season turned upside down. Kulusevski then moved inside and played as that number 10 while Maddison was out. Yeah. And we went away to the Etihad and he scored that last minute equaliser. We went away to Forest and he scored the winning goal and got an assist in that game. Yeah, there was other games at home as well where like everything went through him. He just he's got this ridiculous mentality where like if the game, like kind of what we were all saying earlier about like when the going gets tough, who would you rather have on the pitch? And look, maybe that's a bit unfair on Maddison, but that is where Kulusevski thrives. He's got this incredible mentality. You're looking
at what's been done, that's where it seems to be. But a quick last question before we have to move on as we're getting towards time. Are Spurs making the top 4?
I'd actually go with no right now.
Okay.
I think it's really interesting. I think our start to the season has been so mixed, and I do still think we are going to have those inconsistencies this season. I think it'll be interesting. I don't know what you'll say on it, but
it'd be a good top 4 battle with Arsenal anyway.
Yeah, literally.
Good top 4 battle with them.
Arsenal are probably the least threatening of the teams that we'll be battling with. But I think when I look at Villa, when I look at Chelsea, I just think, even though we battered them today, I don't know what it is. I just feel like over the course of the season, maybe Villa and Unai Emery might just be a little bit more consistent than us, especially in terms
of... You think you're a bit more up and down?
We win or lose, we don't draw. We've drawn one game all season. It's kind of just
if we click, I genuinely believe that we can be a better team than Aston Villa. I believe that we can be a better team than Chelsea this season. I think we'll finish above Chelsea, and I think we'll finish above United. I think Villa will be our biggest threat to top 4.
Okay, interesting. Quite a few people seem to have Chelsea now, but that's interesting. What about your thoughts, Ben?
I think, kind of like you said, I think on our day, we are the 4th best team in the Premier League. I do believe that.
Yeah.
But again, it's just that kind of consistency.
Our days
But-
over
So who are you
at
going
home.
for then? Of course.
You know what? I'm going to back it. We will finish 4th. I think
I like
it's going to
it.
be
I like
the
it.
Villa might like those Champions League games.
Yeah.
Like it's the intensity of that in the second half of the season. They've got a great squad with a lot of answers. But again, games like today, they've shown that if they come up against a team that kind of ups the intensity a little bit,
Yeah.
they can get torn apart. Even though they are very pragmatic and Emery's so brilliant, kind of his in-game management and stuff like that. But I don't know.
there
I'm
or
going to back it.
thereabouts.
I think we'll finish at least 5th. I think we'll finish 5th, but
Yeah,
I think we've got a good chance for top 4.
Cool. All right, cool. Moving on to match roundup. Okay.
I'll
should be
turn
good.
the
Yeah,
bit
you
now.
can.
Yeah,
You
I'll
can
keep it
return
on,
the
I think.
bit now. You don't have to keep on for the whole session. Cool. So match roundup. Firstly, we're going to talk about the title race games, and I saw we've already had quite a few subliminals towards
Few little
the
daggers.
lads over on the other side, on the north side of the river.
Can we not talk about title race with Arsenal? Cause
Yeah.
I'm not so sure they're in it.
Yeah, not so
It's
sure. They're in
over.
it looks like they might be in a bit of a top
it's
4 race
Jover.
here.
Yeah.
So I think we may as well start off with them. So Arsenal lose to Newcastle 1-0. They weren't great at all.
No.
Really.
I think before we talk about what this means, let's talk a little bit about their performance, because it was flat, and they have been a little bit flat. Like they've got a lot of credit for being really good with being very defensively resolute, which I still think is there. Being really good with the details of the game, the set pieces. They've got a lot of goals there, but that game against Newcastle, they only seemed threatening from a set piece.
Yeah.
From when I was watching, I mean, that second half, I thought that they would come out of the second half kind of flying. They created nothing.
Yeah.
They create literally. I think they had one shot on target. That was second half. That kind of it wasn't even on target, but one big chance. The second half, Rice's header towards the end.
They had to score that.
But should have scored. But what's going on with their attack?
I think the thing for me, I think Arsenal are going to really struggle when they go 1-0 down this season. When they're
Yeah.
losing in games, that's where I probably see them having issues, because I think I don't think they've changed their style of play. I don't think they're all of a sudden just this really defensive, pragmatic side. I still think they've got that side to them when Odegaard comes back as well. But I think you're seeing when they're going 1-0 down in games, they have played that style of football this season where they do sit a little bit deeper, they do wait and take their chances, set pieces, etc. And they have been winning a lot of games by 1-goal margins, like the North London derby, for example. I think when they're going behind in games, so I think they're a little bit more defensively vulnerable, especially given a few of the injuries they've had recently as well. I think they're really struggling to sort of change that and adapt the style in game,
Yeah.
and then go back to being that fluid team that can create, 5-10 chances a game. I think they're relying a lot on Bukayo Saka at the start of this season. I don't think it's helped the form of Gabriel Martinelli. I think obviously Odegaard being out, you see now how important he is to them. Everything flows through him. I mean, I said it last year. He was up there for my player of the season in the Premier League last year, because I just thought everything went through him. You look at all of their goals, he'll have at least 3 or 4 touches in the build-up.
Yeah.
And I think you're seeing that now. I think Arteta as well, maybe the team selection, he got it a little bit wrong. I mean, it's obviously easy to say that in hindsight, but I think Nwaneri is probably the most obvious Odegaard replacement.
Yeah.
I think Trossard struggled. I think Trossard just seems to struggle when he starts games.
I think Trossard's crap.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I used to.
I don't
rate,
see it.
I used to rate him a lot, but I think because I don't know. I had the 12th man blinkers on. I think when he comes on, he's a game changer. He can really like he's very good at getting a goal, but
He's a brilliant finisher.
I was watching him against Newcastle, and I've been watching him a bit recently, and I wonder if Arsenal fans will defend him or they'll agree with me. I saw a bit I've seen both sides, but I just don't. He just doesn't really add much. He loses the ball a lot.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have a
sloppy.
good
He's sloppy.
final action, especially in terms of passing. Just seems all over the place. And I thought in that kind of off the strike he'd be able to add something, because out wide, I was already saying previously, not really seeing a lot from
Yeah, it does
Trossard.
miss him.
Goes into the 10. He's almost worse.
I think when he plays his best football is when he's playing off his instinct. I think when
Yeah.
the ball falls to him, he's so good at sort of getting that clean strike away towards goal. I think when he's got that time in midfield, I don't think he's got the vision. I don't think he's necessarily...
It's not a creator, is it?
No.
I just don't think when he's got too much time to think about something, I think that's maybe when he struggles a bit more. But
Also, I mean, to be fair to him as well, I think Saturday was not a sort of game for him to be playing in the middle, was it? And that's where you got to
very
give credit to
physical,
Newcastle as well. Like, there's so... Newcastle have not been at it really this season, but when they are... And this is, I think, where Arsenal will struggle. When... Against, you got to remember, when they come up against Villa, who are another team who are physical, so much kind of emphasis on winning those battles across the pitch.
Yep.
Arsenal really struggled away at Villa early on in the season, and I think Watkins hit the bar, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Raya made that insane save.
better
They
team,
could have lost
yeah.
that game, which is another game when they come up against a really physical opponent that will kind of want to play them at their own game a bit. And that's exactly what Newcastle did to them. And they were so compact. They made it so hard. They won those physical battles. And I think with Arsenal, I don't know. I feel like they've I'm about to. Yeah, they've got. I think there is too much over reliance on those really fine details of the game, like you were saying earlier. Like I think they've gone too far with that kind of stuff in terms of like about kind of really nailing those fine margins to get close to City. Go and play your football. Like when Arsenal were at their best last season and the season before, I actually think they were more solid last year. I think that Arsenal team, the first year they went for that title, were far more threatening than they have been in the last couple of years. I know it went to the final day last year and it didn't the year before. I was more worried about that first version of this Arsenal team under Arteta. Yeah. And I think this kind of over-emphasis on pragmatism is really hurting them a little bit, I think.
Yeah. I agree. I think that pragmatism is hurting. I don't think their summer transfer window was that great.
Nah.
I think bringing
that
in
left-hand side is non-existent.
Bringing in Marino, what does he really add?
Yeah.
Sterling on loan. I really thought
Sterling on loan.
I think
horror.
Horror. I think, like you said, I think they looked at they lost the league, 2 points last season or something like that. And I thought, I think Teta's gone and looked at it and like, it's the set pieces, it's these little details in games. And I think he's gone for that because he's thinking when we don't play well, which I think their problem was.
How can we score a goal?
We don't seem to win. Arsenal dominate a lot of games, but when they don't play well, they lose out quite a bit. And I think he went for the wrong thing in terms of those little details like the set pieces and whatever, and these little extra details in the system. Yeah. I think it was just go get a finisher, go get a game changer, in that left-sided 8 position that can kind of
a maverick that can win a game on its own.
There you
go.
They
don't have that.
But I think he's gone to system. But because you look at a lot of the times when they've kind of excelled this season, without Odegaard, it's when Saka's been on game. So
Saka's different.
You can see that a maverick can really be a key difference in terms of getting points, like Mo Salah.
Yeah, the game last week, right? Obviously, was it between the 43rd when they scored that goal Marino against you? And between that and Salah's equalising goal, they created, 0.05 XG or something crazy.
Yeah.
I did a Twitter space with some Liverpool fans after the game, and they were like, we felt most threatened after Liverpool equalised the first time with Van Dijk, where Arsenal actually had to come out and had to play. And when they did play that more front-footed approach, it was like, I don't really understand it. I'd love to play that North London derby again. I would love to play that North London derby again because I think we beat them.
Really?
You're
not too convinced.
No, I'm not convinced with Arsenal.
The thing is, though, you got to be careful because I think Mikel Arteta is a brilliant manager, and I do think that.
I'm not having it. Yeah, no, it is. To be fair, it is.
I just think this international break coming, I think it's going to be huge for them. I think getting Odegaard back.
Yeah,
and I do think you will see Arsenal push again.
It makes them tick, doesn't it? Yeah. That's the thing. They're missing.
And they've had some tough games, if we do say.
I don't think they're gonna. I actually don't think they're gonna win the league this year. I don't think they did enough in the summer. I said at the start of the season. I think City will win it. I still think City are going to win the title.
Yes.
I think they're doing what City do every year. They are worse because of no Rodri, and I don't think De Bruyne is going to have an impact for them really this year with the injuries and given obviously his age now. But I just think Arsenal didn't do enough in the summer. I think there's too much sort of inconsistencies with their style of playing in terms of really, like you said, they were at their best last season, the season before as well. And I just think you can't write them off though, like with Bukayo Saka. If Martinelli hits some form, you never know what could happen. And if they get Odegaard back in the team with Marino in that left central midfield role and they actually start to see the vision that Arteta saw in the summer signing these players, then maybe they can, come back in and challenge. Because Arsenal are the sort of team where they could win 10 games in a row.
No, you're completely right. No, they're a very good side. I just like to see them go through this period of suffering because Arsenal fans, for some weird reason, have an unbelievable level. To be fair, Arsenal fans, there is a spectrum. They're a very weird fan base, they're the worst online. They're the worst online. They've got a huge subset. They've got a huge subset that have an unbelievable amount of arrogance. The arrogance that us Liverpool fans have got in this title race about they've just completely dismissed us. Now listen. I don't mind you fancying yourself, but I don't know if I don't know if you've seen it kind of yourselves. They talk on us as if we're like some
It's
sort
a
of
little,
small
like, patting
team.
you on the head. Just like,
patting us
this
on
is
the
a team, by the way, that weren't in the Champions League for like 7 or 8 years in a row before last season.
Do you know what I mean? You are still the A side. Like Liverpool have won the Premier League title in the Pep Guardiola era, and for me,
we have players who have won the Premier League, who have won the Champions League.
Yeah.
So it is beautiful to see them 7 points behind.
Yeah, we love to see it. Absolutely love to see it.
Salah and Van Dijk, and when you got those two,
you can never count us out. But we have to give, we've spoken a lot about Arsenal there. Newcastle did really well to see that game through, and we can't talk too much, about the details of their performance. We kind of touched up on it, but Newcastle haven't started too well.
Yeah.
A lot of people have kind of got them outside of the top 4 race now. So they've just beaten, Arsenal, scored a real nice Barclays goal.
What
by the
a
way,
goal that was.
I love that proper cross.
Yeah.
Boom, love that, man. I was like, that's real Barclays. As soon as it went in, I was like, that's real Barclays. Yeah. But point is here, can Newcastle get themselves back in the top 4 race? You guys, when you were just going through it, you didn't even include them.
Yeah, that's true.
Not convinced.
Not top 4, but they will beat a lot of good sides. They should have beaten City. If Isak was fit in that, was Isak not available in the City game they played a few weeks ago? I feel like he wasn't, right?
I don't think he was.
It was the 1-1 draw at St James's. Like, they will get results against top teams because
they'll also lose to a lot of bad sides.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like they're so good and so compact in those bigger games, and they're able to frustrate teams and wear them down. And when you've just got those physical monsters in Joelinton, I thought Joe Willett was really good at the weekend as well.
Brilliant.
Longstaff as well, who is someone that again
really
isn't isn't like Longstaff isn't the sexiest like name in the world, but he's you say that,
Sean.
but he's like he big up Sean. But he just does all the dirty work, and they're so compact. They're kind of defending that 5. Joelinton's just like a cheat code, isn't he? When they can get him fit and playing consistently well, and Isak is like because I was doing it like when we played them, we battered them at St James's Park, and I don't know how we lost that game, but
That's the most frustrating game.
It was,
me, so
but you see what their defensive shape is. Like one of the midfielders will tuck in, make it a 5. The wingers then play off Isak, and if they're able to play out, Isak is so good at holding the ball up against physical centre backs, playing off it, and then he's devastating in the final third.
It's funny because Newcastle been getting a lot of results this season. I don't feel like their performances actually deserved.
Yeah,
so I think
but the games they've been losing, they're probably the ones where they haven't deserved to. They battered Brighton at home a few weeks ago and got nothing out of it. So they've been a bit funny. Like,
and I think that's the thing with them. I think they'll struggle against lower teams who sit in against them. I don't think they've never sort of addressed their sort of number 10 issue. They went for James Maddison last summer when we went for him as well.
Yeah.
And I just feel like they're really missing that creative profile.
They really miss a great spark.
Gordon and Barnes, great, especially on the transition.
Yeah, well, I think they're so reliant on transitions, aren't they? That's how they hurt teams.
And Isak, he was a joke on Saturday.
Yeah.
He was an absolute joke. And like when he's playing with his back to goal and he's bringing other players into play, I think that's the second best striker in the league. I think he's ahead of Watkins. I think he's ahead of most other strikers.
Yeah.
Okay,
but and when he's on it on Saturday, not many other strikers put in that sort of performance. And
it was brilliant.
With Saliba and Gabriel on his back and doing that, and I think Livramento and Hall, you've got to give a shout out to them as well.
Yeah, bodes really well for England as well. That, by the way,
Lewis Hall, get him in the England squad.
100%. No, I thought they were really good.
Newcastle will be inconsistent, but I don't.
Yeah, I think more Europa League for them. I think maybe 6, 7. I do think they're just a little bit off, and for the reasons that you guys said, I think they do need to invest a bit. But it looks like that's going to have to be slower because of FFP issues.
Yeah.
But moving on, what is next? So City. City lose to Bournemouth. Another loss in this title race.
We're just waiting to get to Liverpool.
Yeah, I am. We've got to finish. I'm literally itching. But we've got to start off with the losses. Yeah. City lose to Bournemouth, and I'm not going to lie. I don't know if you guys... I didn't watch it. I kind of saw bits of the game because I was watching another stream. Legally, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But it was kind of between. But watch the extended highlights, and when I was even watching the game, they were getting cooked. They were struggling a lot with Bournemouth's press and their transition. You kind of mentioned earlier that with Rodri out of the side, they are a bit weaker. City, are they maybe not the same? Is this just the City of we don't start too well, and then Pep goes, I deceived you, and wins fucking what? 15 games.
We'll let you get ahead. We'll catch you up. Don't worry. We will get there.
Or are City really? Is it going to be like more like? Are they going to be in like the mid-80s sort of thing?
I don't think anybody's getting over 90 points this year. Period. And I think it's going to be one of those ones where, again, kind of come back to the Arsenal point a little bit. Like, I don't think someone's necessarily going to have to be perfect to win the league this year, whereas I think Arsenal kind of think that they do, because I think City will drop a lot of points like that. They've been That's why I was quite confident for when we played them in the week because one, they were going to change things up anyway, but they have been super vulnerable in transition. When they played Wolves, when they got that last minute winner, when they come up against like physical, strong ball carriers like Aït-Nouri, Cunha in that game,
They struggled.
They struggled. Fulham, Adama Traore, and Iwobi as well. They got cooked, and it was like. I thought we could do that to them. And then you look at Bournemouth and you look at Semenyo, these kind of players as well, the way where they're able to turn the ball over. Yeah, Semenyo's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So it wasn't... I mean, it was a bit of a shock, but like... I can't say I was that surprised that they lost.
I Bournemouth in my hacker, so I actually called that
Yeah,
one.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think that they've been scraping through a lot of the games where they're playing these teams that are very good in transition, very good at pressing, and they've got players that can, really drive you without Rodri. And I think Kovacic, he's trying, and I actually think he's doing pretty well, to be fair to
I think
him.
it's Gundogan that's more the one that's really struggling, isn't he? Oh my God, yeah.
I think they're coming to the end of a cycle. I think City are coming to the end of a cycle. When you look at Kyle Walker, who they've relied upon for years, in terms of that recovery pace. I mean, when you watch City, it would be 3 or 4 times a game. It's a bit similar to Mickey van der Ven with us at the moment, where when you're playing that high line, you need that guy who is going to bail you out of situations. I think Kyle Walker doesn't have that in him anymore. I think he's been injured a big parts of this season. I just don't think you saw it with England. I think he now costs teams more than he actually benefits teams now.
Yeah, and he doesn't give you enough on the ball either to warrant being in the team. That was my massive bugbear with England in the summer.
Yeah.
It was like, that's why...
He's never really had the highest.
Trent has to be starting for England now, but anyway, that's a different point. I think Rico Lewis coming into the team, I think obviously Rico Lewis is unbelievable on the ball. I think obviously when he's playing inverting, if City do get turned over, then they are more vulnerable. I think Josko Gvardiol plays very hard at the pitch as well, and I think John Stones is constantly injured. I think Nathan Ake is a big player for them as well, because I do think he also gives them that sort of pace in terms of dealing with transitions, and he's been in and out of the team a bit injury prone at the start of this season as well. I just think it's a bit of a mess at City right now with all of their injuries. I think there's been a lot of discourse about injuries over the past couple of weeks, when I do think it does make such a big difference to squads, what players you have out. And even with Arsenal, with City, Liverpool have had a few injuries at points this season as well, and I just think when you have those injuries, it changes what you're able to do. And I think you've seen, like you said, City being more vulnerable, especially on the transition, due to not having these players available, and due to also not having Rodri and Gundogan look like a passenger.
Half the player, literally like half the player.
He just does not look at it.
No.
Kovacic has never been that guy as well. He's not going to break up play. Kovacic, really, it's not his game. So
yeah.
No, absolutely. And Bournemouth, to be fair to them, they look all right.
I
That's
love-
Arsenal and City smited down. Yeah.
And a Villa draw in between that as well.
Yeah, I like
love
the way they
that
play
team.
as well. I rate their manager. Like they're just like I rate like small teams that say, you know what, like, we're gonna have a go. We're gonna make it difficult for you. We're not gonna just because I feel like a lot of teams like they play City, even if they're weak and we're gonna sit in.
Yeah.
City are so great.
They smell blood. I think they smell blood.
They countered them. Like
the other thing with someone like Bournemouth though as well, I think when they got the manager and it's all gone well since the manager came in, I think it's kind of overlooked how much quality they got in that squad. Zabani and Senesi at the back, they're probably my favourite centre-half duo, alongside Murillo and Milekovic for Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
In the bottom half of the Premier League, I think they're quality. And you got Kirkes at left back. Did you get 2 assists at the weekend? I think you got 2 assists.
I think so,
He was outstanding. And then obviously Semenyo. I've said it multiple times. That is my number one target for Tottenham Hotspur.
Oh, really?
Antoine Semenyo.
He would be good on the right for you guys.
Need him at Spurs, but yeah. I think Bournemouth, the quality in that squad gets overlooked a bit sometimes. Someone like Ryan Christie as well. So yeah,
Ryan Christie is a player, by the way.
I think they could sneak a little 10th little position.
I think so.
100%. Yeah.
But yeah, moving swiftly on. I've waited for this moment. So in that title race so far, one team did win.
Yep.
And that was Liverpool FC. A really, really ideal weekend for us. I'm not gonna lie. I was Shamani dancing that towards the end of that day, man. Because I just couldn't. City, you looked at it and you look, okay, Newcastle pretty tough for Arsenal. Yeah. You look at Bournemouth, you still fancy City. For them to both lose and for us to get 3 points.
If Carlsberg did weekend.
Yeah, it was a dream weekend, honestly. And I do think we will need both of them to not necessarily be at their best to get the league this season. I think we've looked good, but I still think there's a bit of teeth in stages really because I still think Slot is still adapting. I think he's done really well. I think we saw that in the first half. I thought, so I'm not gonna lie, in the first half we were dreadful.
Yeah, Brighton was.
But what was he playing? First half.
First half he was all over. I think Trent pisses me off, man, because I think
his head's in Madrid, mate.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, because I thought the first half defense. His passing, to be fair, has been a bit off it this season in general.
Yeah, it was certainly last week at the Emirates.
And then he just pulled one out of the bag.
Yeah, world class
assist. But defensively in that first half, he was kind of all over the place. And then I feel like I think he can do it now defensively. We've seen the way that Slots
100%.
changed a couple of
Second
things
half,
because
I thought
He
in the
massively
second half
switched on, didn't he?
he completely locked down Matoma, and I think that actually was quite detrimental to Brighton because they were really trying to overload that left hand side. And once Gomez, who I think did really well as well, Gomez and Trent started winning all the duels there. We kind of had a lot of turnovers, and with the crowd, we started creating a lot of chances. So it's just like he can turn it over whenever he wants. But I do think just generally in terms of our system, there's a couple things like I don't think our press is the most organized. It seems like our players are covering a lot of ground. You never like it when it looks like your players are covering a lot of ground in your press, which is ineffective. And then kind of
So
there's
easy
big
to play
spaces.
through.
Like it's a bit of I don't want to put that Ten Hag's name on Slot, but there's like little bits of it you're seeing in the press, and then kind of the build-up play as well, not as knitted together as I would like, and it keeps on being a case of Slot adapting and us looking better, rather than us starting.
Those are good signs though. Like
That's what's impressed me the most, actually.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, with the pressing thing, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Tottenham. That's the second season Slot thing, I think. Though that is something in your game I think will be a lot more refined next year. Like, we pressed very high last year, but a lot of the time we were quite easy to play through, and everything was a bit disjointed. Whereas this year, it's like, we're so much more on it. And I do think you see that a lot with managers that come in where it's like, that's a kind of very much a second season thing when kind of the players are used to it. Yeah. Brighton were excellent that first half as well. Like, they are a team. Like, I always feel like, I don't think they've ever beat you at Anfield, but I always feel like they're a good value for a result there. There's been so many times where they've gone like 1-0 up, or I think it was that.
There was a 3-3,
3-3, yeah.
Trossard
hat-trick or something,
hat-trick,
yeah. It was like those kind of games. I always feel like
Maybe that's why I don't like him, but
but like sometimes they are again, we've kind of spoken from recent experience. Sometimes they can be a team that you just cannot live with. And again, Liverpool were poor in that first half, but they're a very like again. I think this weekend sort of showed that like anyone can get it. Yeah. Anyone can get it in the Premier
league's
League.
tough, and I think if you're not really like if your team's not kind of really top notch all over the pitch, it doesn't really seem like anybody is this season.
Yeah,
anyone can give you trouble because I think a lot of the smaller teams, their managers have gone in and made sure to get profiles that can really hurt big teams, particularly in transition. You got some teams like Brighton that can do a bit of everything. So
the level of the league's improving.
It's improving.
It's crazy.
It's mental.
I think with Slot though, that in-game management, I actually can't remember. Maybe Nottingham Forest because you lost that game. I can't remember a game this season really where he's got his changes wrong and they haven't made a big impact on the game. I think that's such a good sign. I think Klopp had that. I think Klopp always knew exactly when and how to impact the game. I think that was one of his biggest strengths. I think obviously when that happens, you bring on the subs and you're at someone like Anfield and the crowd just gets going. I think that can just be impossible to live in. I think that's what you had under Klopp, and I think that looks like it's going to continue under Slot as well.
No, 100%. And
Salah's a joke, which helps as well.
Yeah, I was just about to move on to Salah. We had to quickly cover him. Mo Salah. So obviously we get back into the game for the 1-1, the Gapco goal. And then, like you said, like we spoke before, a tight game. You know, the crowd has, played a huge factor, but you never know if you're going to really get the 3 points in these games. And what a difference makers Mo Salah is. I think he's now, the 8th highest goal scorer in Premier League history?
Yeah, it's like 140 odd goals, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he went ahead of Robbie Fowler. I can't remember exactly where he's in the table. Did you also know, like, a stat, which I spoke about on TikTok, right? In 132 games at Anfield, Mo Salah has 132 goals.
That is mental.
No, that's absolute madness.
Yeah. And
that is every game. There's a goal.
Yeah.
There's an assist.
Even if he's not affecting the game, or like, well, obviously you naturally affect the game for a goal or assist or whatever. But like, in terms of he wasn't in that game a lot on Saturday at all. But the finish is ridiculous.
I made a video about it actually after the game, and I said it's almost amazing how Salah scored that goal, and I didn't really see many people talk about it because Salah's brilliance is just so normalised now.
100%.
It's like he scores that sort of goal. That is a joke of a finish. He cuts it, whips it top bins, and it's like I barely see anyone. Salah's just down at Anfield doing his thing.
It's just like natural.
Same as the goal at the Emirates last week as well. It was just like brilliant finish, like the work inside.
Finish, it's still got a lot to do with that. And he just, you don't really see Salah missing many big chances, especially ones like that. And it's, what you have there, it's like I think it's what we had pretty similar with Harry Kane. Obviously, you can argue about the levels and stuff, and obviously we didn't win any trophies with him. But with Mo Salah, you have something like we could always rely on Kane and big moment, score a goal, get an assist in a game where we need that moment of magic, just an purely individual
bit of brilliance.
And you've got that with him. It must be a blessing.
I think the beautiful thing about it,
it's so beautiful. Honestly, I'm just like, he kind of came up with a tweet today, I think it was, where he was kind of saying that, this is the level we should be competing at.
Yeah.
And he said like, oh, no matter what happens, like scoring goals at Anfield will always feel. I'll never forget like kind of scoring goals at Anfield. Kind of, and there's like a little bit of a message saying that that contract situation still hasn't really been sorted, and he wants to stay.
If you're only
Brother FSG,
Sort it
give that man whatever he wants. Do you hear me? Give him whatever he wants. I hate our club is tight.
Yeah.
And you guys will know this actually with Daniel
Yeah, tell
Levy.
me about it.
Yeah. Honestly, it does my head in. Listen, I don't care about whatever, I don't know, data model Michael Edwards is, kind of building up. Criminal.
Yeah.
The least you can do is get this guy, a 2-year extension. I think he fully deserves it.
He'll pay you back. He's paid you back already.
Oh, no,
but,
yeah.
And I feel like the thing is with Salah as well, like kind of to your point about like the normalised brilliance, I know he's probably been a little bit more inconsistent in terms of his performances, but I still feel like we're watching the same Salah from 5 years ago. Yeah. I don't feel like anything's actually really changed that much. He's the same. He looks after himself so well. He's a physical monster, and that it's a kind of similar thing to us with Son. Like again, he might have lost a little bit of pace this season as well. He's picked up a few more injuries. That finishing is still cash money. Yeah. When they're both very similar on one on the other side, obviously. When they get into those kind of positions, do not show them on.
They just know how. The thing is, because they've lost their pace and a bit. Sometimes you'll see kind of things where you think they're a bit washed. They might not get to the ball in the channel. They might, but I just feel like they're so intelligent in the way that they're able to adapt to their game. Yeah. They still have that. You get into little areas. They still have that shift and finish.
Yeah. So I say with Son's cross for that Johnson goal as well. Like the quality is still there, and that's the same thing with Salah.
Son and Salah have actually. I've always sort of viewed them quite similarly in this way, where they're not the most aesthetically pleasing footballers in terms of dribbling. They're not like. You hear people talk about all the time, like the Hazard and Salah debates. Like the only reason that Hazard is still sort of brought up and compared to Salah is because I think he's a lot more aesthetically pleasing on the eye, the way that he dribbled. A very different game. I think Sonny's always been the same. Like Sonny has sometimes been sort of
a bit clunky,
not like he doesn't necessarily like whip out an amazing piece of skill to beat a man 1-on-1, but
go through their goal catalogue. So Salah's the same thing.
Yeah. It makes no sense to me. I think Aesthetics merchants they do my head in that time. Yeah. So you go and just. That stat I just read out. It's a goal or assisted game. Bro. You can't.
Efficiency is the biggest currency that we should be kind of judging this on, and like when you can't argue with a goal or assist every single game at Anfield since he's been there is a joke. That is ridiculous.
I don't think it's a conversation. I don't think it's a conversation anymore. Salah and Hazard.
Yeah. We'll be having it in the international break again because that happens every international break. It's like Salah, Bale, or Hazard. I
actually prefer. I think I prefer Hazard in terms of stylistically, just like also nostalgia growing up with Hazard, but I think there's no discussion in terms of who has a gretter Premier League legacy. I really don't think there is. Yeah.
But anyway, Liverpool go clear. 7 points clear of Arsenal now. Yeah. 7 points clear of Arsenal.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I think we are 2 points. Wait, how many points clear?
City 2 points. City, yeah.
2 points clear City. So. Yeah, we'll see. I think we've touched on it. We do need to move on. I think we've got a chance, but I do think City will be.
I've been backing it since first game of the season. I said it. I think not first game. Second game we beat Brentford. I was just like, this is a different Liverpool. Like this is just not pragmatic, but just like
controlled. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been really impressed since the start. I've been really impressed with Slot. Like the way he's kind of taken to the media and all these kind of things, which are so important in the Premier League. Like.
I still think you'll have ups and downs this season.
Yeah, I still think as well. So.
When's Liverpool City? Is that start December? At Anfield.
It's after
that is massive.
That's massive. We've got to get a result.
Yeah,
I think we need to win.
You beat them at Anfield.
Then that's. Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I think so as well.
I'd love to. Cool. Very quickly, before we go into our bonus topic, Nottingham Forest, they win again.
Yeah.
they slapped up West Ham,
Yeah.
Lopetegui, by
Chris
the way.
Wood.
But I like Forest, man. They're a proper team.
They're
a proper team. I hate them because we lost to them. But kind of outside of that, they are a proper team. They are defensively resolute. They can get you on the break. They can play a little as well. Yeah. That goal from Ola Aina. Oh my God.
Do you know what people said? There aren't bangers in the Premier League anymore, by the way. We saw how many good goals were there this weekend?
We saw a lot of goals this weekend. No, it was nice to see.
Quickly becoming one of my favourite players in the Premier League.
See the interview of him doing the Ribena with the Ribena.
So good. They're a bit knackered, slapped it. Just gave the Ribena a little tug at the same time. Yeah. So fair enough, man. He absolutely lashed that, man.
Yeah,
I guess quickly, just a question on Nottingham Forest. They're third in the Premier League at the moment, ahead of Arsenal. Arsenal fans listen to this, man. I'm sorry, man. It's just you got a Liverpool fan that has a lot of Arsenal
Nuno
fan
finally
friends
made
and
us
two Spurs
proud.
fans.
He finally made us proud.
Nuno's making us very proud.
But yeah, it seems like he's kind of found his level a bit. But I think he is a good manager. But I just think the Spurs job was a bit too big for him.
Yeah.
But what can Nottingham Forest do this season? Like third in the Premier League. Like what can they do?
Finish above Arsenal. I think that's
That'd be
pretty
lovely.
safe bet. I mean, it's actually really surprised me because, especially when Danilo got injured early on in the season, I think when I've seen players like Ryan Yates, I thought Ryan Yates was pretty poor last year. And I think some of those players were maybe underperforming, but the performance levels they're getting out of some of those players in their squad, like Callum Hudson-Odoi, Elanga. I mean, Chris Wood is a joke at the moment. He's an absolute joke. I love him.
This Streets Won't Forget season might be one for the
That is literally like Barclays man, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like he is a Barclays man.
You just expect him to score every week now.
Yeah.
And this guy was a man who was awful at Newcastle, was average at Burnley.
Yeah.
When
He was
Forest
always decent at Burnley, I think.
Yeah, I thought he was decent.
alright.
His numbers at Newcastle was poor, but his numbers at Burnley are decent for a Burnley striker.
Do you know what? The
He's
first
got-
time I
yeah,
woke
it's
up, do you
fine,
remember Boxing Day last year where he scored that hat trick at St James's Park?
Yes.
And one of them was the little dink over the keeper. I was like,
yeah.
what has happened to Chris Wood?
That's
It's like, what is
literally-
going on?
That I feel like that was just like
Yeah. I think it's like
domino
Nuno's
effect.
first game as well. And it was like,
Costa.
he's going to turn this guy into a menace. I think only Haaland scored more goals since,
Yeah.
well, I don't know when it was since the,
But the main
surely not since the start of last season, but like for quite a long time.
The
Can't
main
remember
thing
exact
for
stat.
them though is Murillo and Milenkovic, just
Yeah.
such a rock solid duo at the back. And Sells has been great for them in goal as well.
Yeah.
I mean-
They've always struggled with keepers as well, haven't they? Like,
But where do we think they'll finish? 8th, 9th? Or do you think they'll drop off?
Lower,
7th?
high, lower half. I think they'll finish. I think like Bournemouth will finish above them. I
Okay, you
think
got Bournemouth above them first.
Yeah, I think Forest will finish 11th, 12th sort of range. I mean, I predicted them 12th in my pre-season predictions. I thought they were good. I didn't expect this out of them, obviously. But I think Nuno, like you say, I'm not a massive fan of Nuno. And I actually said in that I think they'll start poorly with Nuno. He'll get sacked and then they'll bring in run.
bring in Graham Potter.
Yeah, that's that's not looking great.
That's
right
not
now,
looking
but
like
yeah.
that's
The most
gonna
important
happen.
thing for them is they've finally got stability.
Yeah,
That's what it
100%.
feels like with Forest now. It felt like
Proper Premier League team now.
yeah, it kind of felt like obviously Forest are a massive club, and I think it's really good to have them back at the Premier League level.
Yeah.
But it kind of felt like they were almost like a one run of games away from going down in the last couple of years and kind of having to save themselves. But this year, I think they've arrived now. They've arrived and they're kind of back where they sort of belong after such a long time.
Didn't they sign Andre Ayew last year?
They did, yeah.
They made some rogue signings.
Yeah, they
Elliot Anderson, by the way, though. I know the dodgy
what a
FFP
player,
deal and that, but my God, what a player he
He's
is.
got a
he's a
bargain
little
there.
player.
Yeah.
I said in Newcastle last season, do you remember the game against Spurs? Away at St James's Park, they beat us 4-0. Elliot Anderson started the game.
Yeah, it was
He
incredible.
was unreal.
I can't believe they sold him. But
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it's,
I mean, the
it's
fans-
FFP, isn't it? Academy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they got
Newcastle fans were
Vlachodimos and 25 million or whatever it was.
I mean, that will go down as one of the worst deals in Premier League history.
Yeah,
Genuinely.
100%.
Yeah, you're completely right about the stability. That is the key for them.
That's been
really.
the thing they've been waiting for such a long time.
All right, cool. Moving on, boys. So the bonus topic this week. So, Amorim to Man United. He's been appointed now. This one is a little Rondo question, so it's up for anyone to kind of answer it. It's kind of between. I haven't set it for anybody, but yeah, he comes into United. Just to kind of set the scene a little bit from myself. I think so. In the Portuguese league, there was a bit of a duopoly. There we go. There's the word. So in the Portuguese league, there was a bit of a duopoly there. So I think for 19 years, Porto and Benfica have been winning the league. He kind of broke that in winning the league for Sporting. So the first manager of Sporting to win it for 19 years and won it 2 on the spin. So clearly, there's a bit of a manager there. Can he be the Messiah for Man United?
Who wants to answer?
I'll take it.
You take
I'll take it. Let me get it on first.
Showing your Portuguese ball knowledge here, mate.
Yeah.
Also, I have to add as well, I think the start of the season in the league, the start of the season,
Crazy.
he's scored, his Sporting Lisbon team has scored 30 goals in the league. They've won 9 out of 9, and they've conceded like 2. I can't.
Crazy.
Yeah, the numbers are in and around there. I don't know if that's exact, but they have had a crazy start to the league. So
I'll just say before we jump in, his story for his career so far is insane as well.
Yeah.
Like how he's come through. He was like basically assistant manager because he didn't have his badges, but he was actually the manager. So they just had like a fill-in manager just stood on the touchline, whereas he was actually the one
Done behind the scenes.
Oh,
So
really?
sick.
Yeah.
Oh, that's. Where was that at? I think I've seen that actually.
That was it Braga?
Braga,
I think he
yeah.
did it at 2 teams actually before he made it Sporting. But anyway,
Yeah.
take it away.
Is he going to be the Messiah? No.
Oh.
big
But
shout.
I think they will. But what level are we talking about Messiah? Like back to winning leagues?
Messiah, yeah,
Treble
back to
winners.
winning league.
No. But I think he will get. It's just because how competitive the league is and how good everybody else is. I think it's also going to take him time to really establish his style because naturally I think there'll be an uptick in terms of results. You always kind of see that when someone comes in, completely changes the system. I feel like team managers that come in and play a three at the back straight away always get good results.
Yes.
Have him with Conte at Spurs and like Glasner with Palace last season as well.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he's got the players right now. I don't know if he's got the ball playing centre backs in those kind of wide, like the right centre back and left centre back. I think Yoro over time I think will be good for them in that role. But again, he's 18, hasn't kicked a ball. He's still injured now. Hasn't kicked a ball in the Premier League.
I thought he was meant to be back.
I think naturally there will be an uptick, but is he going to be the manager to get them back to some sort of dominance? I'm not sure. But then I don't know who that guy is. He might be the guy, but I just think for Man United, they've got so many kind of holes they need to jump through to get back to that point, and the reliance on other teams to fall off. United can be as good as they want to be, but if City is still there, if Liverpool's still there at the start of a new phase under Slot, if Arsenal's still knocking on the door, if Tottenham are there, Aston Villa, there's so many teams that they need to go past to get there. I think he'll do well.
They're a long way off. They are a long way off. I
think there are certain. If we're talking about like the immediate future, like this season and then next season and maybe next 2 or 3 years, there are profiles in that squad that I think will do really well. I think Højlund will do really well as that kind of like
Højlund.
back to goal striker, running in behind.
He wasn't
good
great
finisher.
today.
He wasn't. No, he wasn't great today.
Højlund.
I feel like. Do you know what? Again, though, I felt like with their sort of front four today, I feel like it was really disconnected. United. I feel like one player who I think, and James Alcott said this in a YouTube video. I feel like Fernandes might be one of the players that struggles in that system when Amorim comes in. And I think they might. He said it. He's like they might target someone like an Eze. I think he's probably more suited to that, like number 10 role. Or they can't play with two. Amorim played with 2 10s behind the striker. I just feel like I don't know. Like Fernandes, it's going to be very interesting to see what players.
I agree with you. I think Fernandes might struggle. I think that's an interesting point as well. That you make there, just before you go.
Yeah, exactly.
I also think because like his kind of 2 number 10s, they seem to be quite mobile. His whole system seems to be.
Where does it leave
quite a lot of
Rashford?
players with quite a bit of mobility as well.
Just play Rashford. I don't get this thing with United. Rashford is your best left winger in my opinion.
Yeah.
Still, play him on the left hand.
But he's not going to play. He's not. Again, it's quite defensive wing backs, isn't it? Like.
I think the thing for Amorim, the thing I like about it is that because he's so what is he 39? He's
he's
really
39,
young.
yeah.
Clearly got fresh ideas. Clearly coming to Manchester United with. I feel like these younger managers as well. Like you've seen it with Arteta, you've seen it with lots of young managers. Like
On the slot.
they need to impose their style and they need to sort of have a certain level of control. I think with United, the managers they got in the past, they had Mourinho, Van Gaal, Moyes, Solskjaer, who's to be fair a little bit younger, and Ten Hag. I think sort of pivoting on that and going to a younger manager who is going to sort of maybe be more stronger in his beliefs and not stronger with his beliefs, but like I don't know, it is a bit of a pivot from what they've been used to.
He's more charming, isn't he? Definitely. Like in terms of handling the media, which again at a club like United, we talked about it with Slot earlier at Liverpool. That's massive. That's what Ten Hag failed with, didn't he? So I think he's going to kind of bide himself a lot of time through that. I think he'll do well. I do think he'll do well, but the Messiah to be the guy that wins them titles again, it's going to be very hard. Again, one thing with Amorim as well, like I said about the defensive wing backs, there have been kind of different iterations of what his system has been at Sporting Lisbon. Sometimes those wing backs will go forward. He's kind of changed quite a lot this season as well, far more possession based. Whereas in previous years they've kind of been a bit more maybe direct. I think it's going to take him time. What happens this season is going to be very interesting, but Messiah, I'm not sure, but I do think he'll do well.
I think the thing as well, when you got a 3 at the back system, is I don't think United have got the profile for wing backs right now.
No, their fullback recruitment, other than Mazraoui, to be fair, I think it's been decent. Sign a left back. They haven't signed a left back in about since Malacia, and then he just disappeared off the face of the earth.
Luke Shaw and Malacia don't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
We saw it with Conte though. Like he had to get in Perisic. He then signed Emerson Rowe, which was weird. But
that was Nuno, wasn't it? Was that Nuno?
Was it Nuno signed?
Thanks for that, Nuno.
Yeah, or he did one of them signed Matt Doherty, but like having those wing backs is when you play a system with wing backs, they're the most important people on the pitch, in my opinion, in terms of getting back, getting forwards. And if you have creative wing backs, I think Amorim had Pedro Porro for a while, and Pedro Porro was special at Sporting.
Yeah,
I think he struggled a bit more to find the right sort of answer to losing Pedro Porro on that right hand side. And I think Manchester United in January with Amorim now will have to invest in those right. I think Jeremy Frimpong to United is pretty much
nailed on. I think
at this point. I think in terms of sorting that left wing back as well, you're right. They need to address that because a three at the back system with wing backs who can't create much and aren't that good at getting forward and getting back, then I think they will struggle with that system.
Yeah, I do think he needs to invest. I do think he does all right. I do think he will do all right. Like you said, I don't know. I think the Messiah is a bit of a long shot. I don't think we will be able to see that now. Is he going to get them back to winning leagues? I don't know, but I think he'll be positive. I
agree.
Like Ten Hag for me has regressed United. Their squad looks awful to take on. The morale seems awful for someone to step into. I think Amorim will actually take them forward, like you guys said.
He'll leave them in a better place than he found them.
Yeah,
I think that's the answer in it. Yeah.
You look at what he's done at Sporting, and you're seeing a manager there that's there's a bit of a special young manager there, and I think that's what they need. They need United need someone to come in and say, "This is the way that we're gonna do a three at the back. This is the way we're playing.
Yeah,
we're gonna set up like this tactically." And I think their fans will buy into it. I think their fans they're at the point where they probably buy into anything. To be honest,
I said this earlier, earlier in the
100%.
I said this earlier in the pod. It's like when I was at Old Trafford a few weeks ago when we battered them. They stick by the team and the manager. They do that even in the really tough moments. So one thing that Amorim will get, certainly with the fans, who not necessarily maybe like fans online all the time, but
match going
fans, they will back him. Even in the dark moments, they will back him. So
I'm gonna say the word.
Cool.
I think he's got aura.
I think he's got aura as well. Sounds exactly like Cristiano Ronaldo, by the way.
Yeah.
When he speaks, he sounds really like it.
I'm gonna go on record and say that I think he'll take United back to the top.
Oh, you think so?
I think
as in winning leagues.
If Ineos, not necessarily winning leagues, but challenging at the top, like a bit like Arteta's done with Arsenal. I think if Ineos get it right, which I think they want to, and I think if they let him have a certain level of control and they trust him to do that, I think from everything I've seen, there's no reason to not be excited about it. I think it's a cool profile for United. I think. And also, I think City are maybe dropping off a bit with Guardiola. Liverpool, obviously, at the start of a new project. Arsenal falling off under Arteta. So, obviously, Ange Postecoglou Spurs will be a big challenge for everyone. But I think
the big thing is as well.
I'll back a challenge. I'll back that. I'll back a challenge. I don't know about winning one, but I'll back a challenge.
Give him 2 to 3 years. I'd say.
Yeah. It's going to take a little while.
The big thing is though, no transfer veto. That's one of the things that's kind of they said that, didn't they, with the board? It's like the Dan Ashworth and who's the other guy? In the setup at United, they will buy the players. Like it's not like Ten Hag being like, I want him from Ajax. I want all these Ajax players. Yeah. They will buy the players, and he will be the coach. I think it'd be like Maresca at Chelsea. We will buy the players. You will coach the players. I think
with Amorim,
that's kind of what I've seen. I might be wrong, but
they did that with Ten Hag because they thought his talent ID was trash, which it definitely is.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what the relationship is with Amorim. I think they should bring him into it a bit more.
I'll never forget when they were linked with Sander Berge.
Oh God, yeah.
But I think the thing that annoys me a little bit though is that I think Gyökeres to United could have been nailed. I think with Ruben Amorim, they're obviously a big club, signing that big name striker that they're so iconic for having those big name strikers over the years. But the fact that they spent 60 million on Xerxes this summer and they spent 70 on Rasmus Haaland the year before. I like Haaland. I don't mind Xerxes. But I think they've now stuck.
I don't.
Good footballer.
I don't think Xerxes gives much. I don't think he's very suited to Premier League football. I think he's a good footballer.
He's a weird footballer.
But I just feel like,
but not as obviously.
But just not as good. But I don't know what it is today. Yeah, there was a bit of play where he kind of got put through on goal.
Yeah.
And he's just like the way he was caught by the centre back.
He's running in treacle.
Honestly, and I don't know what it is, but I just it irks me when I see a striker go through on goal.
Yeah.
And they get so easily caught by a centre back who's not even the quickest. It's not a Van de Ven, it's not Saliba.
No.
And you haven't even made a bit of a race of it. I'm just get out of here. I remember Lacazette had a couple of those the other day. But I don't know if you guys have seen the video of Glenn Murray where he goes through on goal and then he cuts back. I'm like, come on, man. I don't think Xerxes cut out for the league, and I don't know why.
Xerxes gets a trim. He could
also, and a striker should not be wearing low socks.
Yeah,
yes,
that can't happen. That cannot happen.
The aesthetics of a footballer are so important.
Yeah,
and the long hair, the low socks, he's never going to break away from.
Two casual players are number 9, especially in a fast counter-attacking system. That's what I really like Haaland. I know he wasn't great today, but
I like Haaland. I think he's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Gyökeres could have been a good signing, but with Xerxes, I don't know if they've got extra budget for that. But very quickly, boys, we are rounding up the show now. A quick match preview. So Chelsea versus Arsenal next week. That's the big game.
I'll take the big off.
Yeah, you can take the big off.
God, what a disgusting game.
It's at Stamford Bridge. Very quickly, predictions. Arsenal are obviously in a bit of bad form. Chelsea, they seem to be a bit up and down.
Yeah.
What way is it going to go? We're going to do a prediction over each of us in just like one sentence of why we think that would be the case.
I think
So
Odegaard's
Seb,
back.
you start us off.
I think Odegaard's back.
Yeah.
I think
Is he?
Oh, is he?
tough game in the Champions League midweek, Inter Milan away. I'm going to go 2-2.
2-2.
I was going to say, yeah, score draw as well. I think Chelsea, their problem is kind of keeping goals out, but they look so good going forward, and I think they've got the players to open up Arsenal a little bit. They caused Arsenal problems at Stamford Bridge last year, didn't they?
Yeah.
And that was 2-2 where Arsenal came back. Arsenal going to have to do a hell of a lot to win that game, I think, even though Chelsea will give them chances, but that attack's not quite firing. If they get a big result away in the Champions League in the week to give them
A bit of a
that sort of
boost.
confidence, then maybe, but my head right now says, I was going to say 2 as well, like score draw, I think, yeah.
I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea. I think
Really?
Chelsea are going to be looking good at home. I think it's their first big game at home with Lavia and Caicedo sitting.
Yeah, great point.
Who I think are going to be massive in that midfield battle. And I do think they will concede, and I think they're going to concede some chances because their defence isn't the
Probably
best.
so up for it though.
But I think
Yeah.
I think they're going to give Arsenal a bit of a game, who are a better side for me, but I think they might be able to latch onto the fact that they're not in the best form, and I think they're going to do it.
So what you're saying is that Spurs are going to win at 2:00 and Arsenal are going to lose and we're going to go above them.
Is that, did you go above them?
We're 2 points behind them now.
I
We're
guess that's
coming
what
for
I'm
you.
saying.
if we are above
We're coming
Arsenal
for
by next weekend, serious conversation.
Going into it because they've got to stew on that for 2 weeks in the international break as well. We will be there.
We will be there, man.
Well, sweet, man. That is the show for you. As you always know, like, subscribe, and all of that lovely stuff. We got to thank our guests today in Seb and Ben. Hope to see you again on the
Definitely,
Rondo.
mate.
It was great to see you.
100%.
I feel like that was a quality episode, man.
Yeah.
Enjoyed
And
it.
that's it. Yeah. That's
one.
it, man. See you again next week.
Nice one.
Nice one.
Nice one.
Yeah.